Aqua is a powerful Keyblade master who is regal, confident, and grounded with a very strong sense of responsibility. This self-imposed duty, though, ends up having dire consequences for her, having a lasting impact that quite literally haunts her. Through it all, there is a resolve that Aqua latches on despite that. What makes her care so much about her comrades? Why did her fall into darkness impact her to such a degree? These are just some of the questions we'll dive into today. Welcome to the Psychology of Aqua. Before we begin, this video is sponsored by Hoyoverse. Zenless zzzero is the newest game from Hoyoverse and boasts an immersive action RPG experience. You take the role of proxies to deal with the encroaching threat of the ethereal, monsters who reside in the hollows, which are the action zones in this game. I was given early access to this game, and I was blown away. If you've been following me for a while, you know how much I love combat animations, and Zenless zzzero does not disappoint. Each character has its own playstyle, and also a pretty intricate combo system that is unique to them. I thought it'd be cool to showcase the first character you get access to, Ambi. She is a melee-focused attacker with a lightning attribute. She has an array of different combo options from a basic combo to a launcher, and you can even change up the combo with different inputs. The actual combat animations are so smooth as well, I could not get over how phenomenal the combat felt. Like the ultimate attack that Ambi gets access to is so incredibly powerful, not just from its actual damage, but also just from the power of the animation. Your roster of characters was added onto pretty quickly, so nothing ever felt like slow or getting stale, and also chaining together assists was so incredibly satisfying. There was even one character I drew whose strong attack changed up the base combo. The options feel limitless. I've had such a blast with it and am definitely grabbing it as soon as it releases. If you want to play Zenless zzzero when it drops, use my pre-registration link, which is down below. And thank you again to Hoyoverse for sponsoring this video. Without further ado, let's talk about Aqua. We are introduced to Aqua at the start of Birth by Sleep, one of a trio of characters all with different focuses. Aqua, though, is the quote-unquote balanced character, with a special emphasis on her sense of right and wrong never wavering. Knowing what we do about Aqua, this feels pretty ironic to me. Ventus and Terra have descriptors that foreshadow their own stories and struggles, so it seems like maybe Aqua's is doing the same thing. Terra is focused on finding greater strength, which is hinting at a struggle with darkness, while Ven's description is oddly lacking, which is in line with the mysteriousness to his character and story. So I feel like the almost absolute nature of Aqua's description is made to show that Aqua's story is about how she does indeed waver in her beliefs. As the game begins, we see that Aqua takes on this caring role, reminding Terra and Ven of their responsibilities. People tend to characterize Aqua as a motherly figure, since that is how most people view feminine roles that are kind or caring. During his first interaction, Aqua reveals that she created Wayfinder good luck charms for the three of them. She has this dream that they will stay together, always. Her connection with her friends is one of the most important things to her, which we will see reinforced throughout their interactions. During the Marker Mastery test, Aqua shows that caring aspect again when she immediately looks out for Ven when the test goes a little haywire.
You're in danger here. Go wait in your room.
I want to inject some passages from the light novels here because I think it can give us a lot of insight into Aqua's thoughts. There are a lot of opinions about the canonicity of the novels, but seeing as how the writer helped greatly with the story of Days and has worked closely with Nomura, I think it is safe to use these to complement what we are already seeing in the games. I would try not to make statements and judgments solely off the writing in the books though. How the book introduces Aqua is as the most serious and level-headed personality of the three, but then immediately her first characterization is that her heart is astir and unsteady.
Feeling her heart astir, Aqua closed her eyes. Achieving the mark of mastery meant undergoing a trial of the heart, and yet her heart was so unsteady, it was unbecoming of a master.
This sets the tone for her story and journey, seeing as how everyone sees her as this strong, unwavering pillar they can rely on, despite the contrast that is going on inside, which puts even more pressure and anxiety on her. A lot of Ericus's words in both the game and the novels is all about the power of a still heart.
That was unexpected. But one must keep a still heart even in the most trying of circumstances. It was an excellent test, one I chose to let unfold.
This helps us understand the description on her character selection screen. It's not surprising that growing up under Ericus and his steadfast hatred of darkness, as well as his constant reinforcement that a heart should be unwavering, would have an impact on Aqua. There's this one passage from the light novel that is incredibly telling on just how much Ericus's words impact Aqua.
She was probably the one who panicked the most, and that was because her heart was still immature. It just meant she needed more training. Masters weren't supposed to make mistakes.
Masters weren't supposed to make mistakes. Can you imagine the internal struggle Aqua must have constantly? Where she's being told she should be one way despite feeling or struggling with the complete opposite. It's no small wonder that she struggles with anxiety over how she should act. When there is a strict black and white expectation to be one way or else you are bad or broken, there is a lot of anxiety and fixation on perfection or not messing up. This responsibility is then doubled or maybe even quadrupled as Aqua is named a Keyblade Master after completing the test. How Aqua acts after the test gives more insight into her character.
Terra. Aqua lowered her head, staring at the pattern on the floor. Master Ericus's words didn't reach her at all. Though she had been recognized as a master, her concern for Terra was greater than her joy for her own success.
Despite having just achieved the culmination of years of hard work, her immediate worry and focus is on Terra, who is visibly upset over the outcome. This burden over Terra and his feelings is then reinforced by Ericus, who fears that Terra may be influenced by the darkness within him if a close eye is not kept on him. Aqua is tasked with looking out for Terra, which places a huge responsibility on her. It's not Aqua's job to take care of Terra's internal struggles, but now it suddenly is. This comes right after Ericus makes this big deal about how anything that would upset the balance between light and darkness needs to be eliminated.
Of the Keyblade, you are tasked with striking down any who would upset the balance of light and darkness. The unversed are no exception.
Ericus tells her to bring Terra back if there are any issues, but the idea must be in the back of her head of the consequences for Terra if he does indeed fall to darkness. All of this shouldn't even be weighing on her though, because that struggle and Terra's choices are not Aqua's burden to bear, but she takes responsibility over them anyways. Because her master ordered it, now it is her burden to bear. Terra's mistakes become her mistakes, and masters aren't supposed to make mistakes. She is also tasked with bringing Ven back safely when he chases after Terra. Even from the very beginning, we see this contrast between how Aqua actually feels and how she believes she is supposed to act and feel. She hides behind this calm composure while fear and anxiety lurk beneath. While she probably would feel that she must protect Terra and Ven just due to the caring and nurturing sides of her, now her master has commanded it, so it takes an even higher precedent on her priorities. Anything that happens to them, she will surely blame herself for. So she journeys off after both of them. With Cinderella's world being Aqua's first foray into any world outside of her own, Aqua is quite sensitive to the people around her, immediately picking up the signs of darkness from a passing interaction with Lady Tremaine and her daughters. When she senses that darkness, her first instinct is to immediately eliminate them, echoing the sentiments of Master Ericus. She doesn't think twice about the implications or the consequences of her actions because she is just following what her master ordered her to do. It's an ignorant position to have, but one that is quite common with those who have been sheltered or only were exposed to one viewpoint their whole life. If the person raising you is the only person you receive information or morals from, then it is more than likely the case that you'll have the same beliefs. Likewise, Aqua holds the same beliefs about darkness as Ericus does. Thankfully, the fairy godmother is here to stop Aqua from committing anything heinous, telling her that light and darkness go hand in hand. In the novel, this confuses Aqua.
Master Ericus had never taught them any of that. Darkness was darkness, and light was light. Darkness did lurk in everyone's heart, but it couldn't coexist with light. It couldn't be allowed to exist at all, the master had taught them, but this was nothing like what she'd learned. It seemed like a good idea to heed the words of the fairy godmother here. Furthermore, Aqua didn't think the kindly old woman was wrong. That didn't mean she believed Master Ericus's teachings were mistaken, just as she was beginning to consider that light and darkness were more complex than she thought.
Master Ericus had never taught them this. Darkness did lurk in everyone's heart, but it couldn't coexist with light. She immediately tries to work this into her worldview, thinking that it wasn't that Master Ericus was mistaken, but that she herself just did not understand light and darkness. This seems to happen a lot with Aqua, where in order to decrease the distress and confusion she is feeling, she immediately assumes she is the one in the wrong. It's also noteworthy that she immediately believes the fairy godmother. Aqua is very quick to believe those older than her as she finds them to be more wise. Her own lack of confidence in her heart and herself has her questioning her own thoughts and beliefs and internalizing the beliefs of those she believes are above her. The last thing I'll note about this world is how Aqua protects Cinderella. She doesn't jump in front of the explosion and throw up a shield, but rather protects Cinderella with her own body. It's something we'll see her do again in the future, and with what we know about Aqua so far, I think it is telling of how she views herself. Her own life is not important, but is simply something she can sacrifice for others. If she believes someone is innocent, she will do whatever she can to help that person in need. Kinda sounds like someone else we know, huh? We'll get to that later though. When Aqua arrives in the dwarf woodlands, she's met with a sleeping Snow White, and within a couple minutes of hearing the situation, decides she should go to the castle instead of the dwarves, again showing that sense of responsibility, that want to help someone in need. She doesn't even know this person, but she throws herself into harm's way to help. We find out later that Aqua closely ties Snow White's experience with when Ven first appeared, asleep and unable to wake up. So it was a projection of her feelings for Ven, which makes that reaction to Snow White make a little bit more sense. Enchanted Dominion gives us a look at what happens when a truth is told to Aqua that shakes her beliefs. When it is revealed that Terra released Aurora's heart, Aqua appears to not even entertain the idea. This confidence though is just a front, because behind her words lies confusion and fear over what Terra may have done.
Something like a black stain crept across her chest at Maleficent's words. Terra couldn't have. He didn't really. She knew it was out of the question. So where were these doubts coming from?
There are all these confusing experiences that Aqua has with both Terra and Ven throughout their journey. Aqua constantly is trying to protect both Terra and Ven, but is always just a step or two behind. Not to mention all of the information that is dumped on her when she finally does catch up to one of them. She has questions about Terra's path and his struggle with darkness, as well as Ven is getting stronger and not needing her anymore while this boy in the mask revolves around him. She doesn't even have time to think about her place in all of this though, because at the forefront is Master Ericus' task: quell the unversed threat, keep an eye on Terra's darkness, and return Ven safely home. There's no room for her own feelings, so she continues forward, fighting the darkness, believing that Terra is not given into the darkness, and chasing after Ven. The last thing I'll point out for this world is this quip from Aqua.
You're too clouded by darkness to see that there's something greater.
Maybe I'm reaching, but Aqua is pretty blinded herself, so I find it quite ironic that she is the one telling Maleficent this. We get a nice little respite when Aqua lands in Radiant Garden, showing this caring, gentle side of her. Well, after taking care of the unversed, of course. Her interactions with Kairi here reinforce what we already know, that she is always looking out for others, wanting to make sure that they stay safe and are protected. This is followed by the first reunion of Aqua, Terra, and Ven, and we see just how different everyone has become in their time apart. Aqua, despite everything she said previously about how Terra can never waver, is suspicious of him, noting that it doesn't sound like he is doing what the Master sent him to do. Aqua sees him shifting away from the Master's will, which makes her question his intentions. This ends with this cutscene that I'll play here.
Put yourself so close to the darkness.
Listen to yourself, Aqua. Terra would never.
You mean you've been spying on me? Is that what he said to do? The Master's orders?
He was only...
Aqua.
I get it.
Terra.
Just stay put! I'm on my own now, alright?
Terra, please, listen. The Master has no reason to distrust you, really. He was just worried.
You're awful, Aqua.
So now you know the truth. But the Master loves Terra. And you know that too.
Were you also ordered to take me home? Aqua, now that you're a Keyblade Master, you've let it go to your head. I'm gonna go find Terra.
Her need to stay in line with Master Ericus' orders drives a wedge between her and the others. This goes counter to her dream for the three of them to stay together. So we see that contrast between what Aqua wants and what she is told to do, and she chooses to follow her orders rather than her heart. To have this divide start to show up between the trio because of her actions must weigh heavily on Aqua's conscience, especially after Ven's cutting remark. As Aqua continues after Terra and Ven, she finds herself traveling from world to world trying to catch up to them. There's not much insight into her character here, as her main focus is just finding Terra and Ven. She does seem to get more angry though, which I'd like to think outwardly shows that inner conflict that Aqua is wrestling with inside. The more she wrestles, the more frustrated Aqua is becoming as she tries to align her inner beliefs with countering evidence. The dissonance here cannot possibly be comfortable, as Aqua tries to keep up her hope in Terra and Ven. We see that even despite this inner chaos going on inside, that Aqua's protective nature shines through in the Olympus Coliseum. Instead of allowing Zack to fight alongside of her against Hades, she has him step back so she can do it alone. Once again showing her resolve to protect others, even if it puts her at a disadvantage or in danger. After this battle against Hades, we get this unique look at a more sensitive side of Aqua when Zack asks her on a date. This scene shows this confusion around interactions she is not experienced with. She has never been on a date before that we know of, and doesn't know how to respond. It's a softer side of Aqua that we don't get to see too often. When Aqua is in a situation that she isn't familiar with, she becomes flustered, not knowing how to respond. We see the exact opposite of this in Deep Space. When she does know how to respond and what to do, she is the epitome of confidence, easily talking with the commander of the ship and helping to defeat the Unversed. She finds herself comfortable in being given a task and following it as she immediately falls in line when she is told to find Stitch and bring him back. We see more of that inner conflict inside of her though when she finds Stitch and tries to bring him back, only for one to mention Terra's name and see a makeshift wayfinder in his hand. For the first time, at least as far as we are aware, she questions orders. She shifts back almost immediately, but we finally start to see some movement on her own autonomy and decisions. She is told that Stitch is dangerous, but she can't be too sure. I think there's a nice parallel here between Stitch and Aqua. Stitch was programmed to be a certain way, but because of his experiences and the people he has met, he changed. And Aqua likewise begins to change, beginning to question orders even if it's just a little bit, reaching out on Stitch's behalf to save him. I imagine just like how Aqua thought of Ventus when looking at the sleeping Snow White, she also thought of Terra when speaking out on Stitch's behalf. Terra may be inching towards the darkness, but she believes he'll be okay. The last Disney world that Aqua experiences is Neverland. Again, she is thrown into a situation she is unfamiliar with when she happens upon a treasure map. Despite needing to continue looking for her friends, the young boys remind her of Ven, and she agrees to one expedition. She even becomes protective of them when Peter Pan starts to be a little hard on the boys. She misunderstood though, and saw that he was actually just pushing them to be stronger. She was given evidence of her thoughts being wrong, but rather than stick to her own beliefs and ideas, she was able to admit she was wrong, again showing that there's been a little bit of shifting in her perspective. Before, when she was met with evidence that differed from what she believed, like with the fairy godmother and darkness and light, she didn't shift her thinking really, but internalized that she was just wrong and misunderstood Master Ericus's thinking. While subtle, she is showing signs that she is slowly shifting to more autonomous thinking. When she is faced by Vanitas for a second time, she is visibly shaking with rage after he breaks Ven's toy sword. She puts her all into defeating him, and when she does, she collapses, completely out of energy. As she slips out of consciousness, she makes a point to say that Terra and Ven can rest easy now. In her exhaustion, she shows that despite everything she is told to do by Ericus, her main desire is still to protect and care for Terra and Ven. Again, showing that subtle shift towards autonomy. When Aqua arrives at the Destiny Islands, she has this inner dread that has been building up. She voices how she's worried about the coming storm that she feels is approaching. She has a looming anxiety because she is unsure about her future as well as Terra and Ven's. There's this understanding that despite her dream of keeping them together, they are starting to slip apart. Sora and Riku though knock her out of this spiral into anxiety, and again we get this peek into another side of Aqua. With her being in front of two children, no expectations or duties to be held or carried out, she takes on this playful, relaxed demeanor. She shows a caring and protective nature, and steers the conversation towards that with her talking about Sora protecting Riku if he starts to get lost. As the children leave, we get this insight into Aqua's thoughts about carrying out the Keyblade ceremony. She could have bequeathed a Keyblade to Sora, but she didn't want them to go through the same thing she, Terra, and Ven have. It's like she almost blames the Keyblades for where they have ended up. The moniker of Keyblade Master has become more of a burden to her than an accomplishment, and you can see some somberness creeping in here. It only continues to get worse though. When Aqua discovers that her master has been struck down by Xehanort and Terra, she erupts into anger and confusion.
But who is responsible?
Master Xehanort and Terra.
No! That's absurd! Hera would never!
She has feared Terra falling to darkness this whole time, and when she is met with the truth, she can't accept it. Even through this, she still holds on to hope, unable to even think that Terra could have done this. We've seen her anger growing throughout the game as her anxiety rises. She goes after Terra to confirm for herself what happened, to find some reason, any at all, for what happened. Arriving at the Keyblade graveyard, Aqua still holds on to hope that the three of them will stay together, an unbreakable trio. Aqua learns that Terra was tricked, but she still questions him, wondering how he will not stray again. The book gives us some insight into this, as it is a little hard to discern what Aqua is thinking and how she gets to her conclusions. She struggles to understand Terra. Maybe there was something else that she didn't understand, or maybe Terra had been ordered to for some reason. There's a line that I want to read verbatim.
Spreading through her was a feeling that was difficult to name. Emptiness, perhaps. Sorrow, regret, anger, powerlessness. How could this happen? Couldn't you have done something? Why?
Immediately, she shifts to blaming herself. The book talks about how her master had taught them about the power of light, the power of believing, which is why she chose to have faith in Terra in spite of everything. Ven then appears, and Aqua seems to calm down, or rather, she tries to shift into that caretaker side. We see her face soften as Ven appears, but then it once more falls into despair as Ven asks him to put an end to him. I can't imagine the whiplash she is feeling from being around familiar faces, but who have fundamentally been changed by their experiences traveling. They're like familiar strangers. Before she can even process this in any way, Xehanort and Vanitas appear to pull the trio into a Keyblade war. There's something I want to note here. This steadfast faith in Terra, I have kind of portrayed as a bad thing. But honestly, this hope in her friends and her dream of them being all together is a way that she holds on, how she comforts herself. And she truly believes in it. It's not denial or a false belief. She genuinely believes in Terra. It is something that drives her to keep fighting, which I don't think is a bad thing. It may be a bit naive, but she held on to hope that Terra didn't fall to darkness and believed him to be good, though she was still nervous and worried for his sake. The same can be said for Ven, where she desperately doesn't want to put an end to Ven and believes that she can save him. Having Ventus Vanitas wear Ven's face must be heartbreaking for her. She doesn't lose hope though. The novels dive into her thoughts and how she fights on, believing that there is some way to save Ven. She fights to save Ven, and uses the power from Terra and Ven's hearts to fight back and save him. Despite everything she did though, he sleeps, unable to awaken. This isn't her fault, but she immediately takes responsibility, saying she will keep him safe until he wakes, forever if she has to. And she finds solace in this new mission, one she has given herself, not following the orders of someone else. At least, she did find solace when she set off with Ven. Returning back to where their journey began, she finds her master's Keyblade. Thoughts of her promises creep back into her mind. She wasn't able to bring Terra back safely. Ven got hurt. She had failed her mission to quell the darkness. She follows her master's orders, changing the lane of departure into Castle Oblivion. Through all of this inner conflict and despair, she still tries to be cheerful for Ven, caring for him and talking to him even if it can't reach him. Aqua puts others before herself more often than not, which reminds me of a certain other person.
But Aqua, she's like Sora.
What?
No. Strong like Sora.
Oh. Okay.
She really does act in a lot of similar ways to Sora. I know the translation here can be a little odd, with the Japanese joke being that Aqua looks like Sora rather than acting like him, and Riku's response is just this major surprise. It may be a reach to use this as evidence for Aqua's similar tendencies to Sora, but regardless, the two share striking similarities with or without this cutscene drawing parallels. Both are keyed into how others feel and will try to alleviate the hurt and pain of others first before they take care of themselves. They also both put themselves in harm's way to save others without thinking about themselves. Similar to how Aqua has this whole struggle with darkness later on in the series, I would be so interested to see how Sora goes through something similar and get a peek into his darker thoughts. Anyways, this is not a Psychology of Sora video, already done that. Let's get back to Aqua. After Aqua safely stores Ven away in Castle Oblivion, she stumbles onto Terra, and I hate how they have this happen to her. It mirrors the Ventus Vanitas scene where she walks up thinking she has found her friend, only for them to turn on her. It must be the most heartbreaking, confusing experience, sinking the blade further into the guilt that she has. She is able to put on a brave front, but failing both of her master's orders weighs heavily on her. The two people most important to her, the two people who she swore to protect, slip away before her eyes. To keep Ven safe, she locked him away in Castle Oblivion. This split them apart, but she still had access to him if she needed to see him. But saving Terra ends with her sacrificing herself, ending up completely isolated in the realm of darkness. Now, before we talk about Aqua's time in the realm of darkness, I want to bookend our journey through Birth by Sleep. There are a couple common themes I want to make sure are highlighted with Aqua's personality. First off, she is driven and confident. Whether she is following the orders of her master or following her own path, she has a strong moral compass protecting those around her. This gets to the point of being self-sacrificing, as she throws herself into harm's way without a second thought, like when she shields Cinderella from danger. She also has a very soft and caring side that tends to show up when she is around people younger than her. I imagine from the strict upbringing she had in Master Ericus and his rigid ways that she expresses this more gentle, relaxed side because it is something she wished she experienced growing up. This appears with her interactions with the Destiny Island trio and also with Ven. Speaking of Ericus, Aqua quickly shifts her behavior when she is in the presence of authority figures. She's usually confident in herself, but she will shift to accommodate what that person wants. This isn't bad per se, but does show some naiveness. It's not something we can blame her for, seeing how she was pretty heavily sheltered while growing up. The one thing that kind of pushes against this part of her personality is how strongly she believes in her friends, always seeing the best in them and wanting what is best for them. This can sometimes be in contrast to what people above her want, which causes some distress inside her. So, with a strong moral compass, a need to comply with authority figures, and a want to do what is best for her friends, it's pretty easy to see why Aqua is tugged in so many different directions throughout Birth by Sleep. Aqua values all three of these things, and essentially fails in all three. The world is upended by darkness, she doesn't fulfill her duties given to her by her master, and her dream is shattered as the trio is split apart, separated across the realms. Aqua in the realm of darkness, Ven in the realm between, and Terra in the realm of light. Literally completely separated with no hope of getting to each other. It is no wonder why she is on the cusp of despair when she is trapped in the realm of darkness. She's been thrown into one crisis after the other with no time to process anything she has gone through. With her descent into the realm of darkness, she finally is alone with her thoughts. For 10 years. 10 years to mull over all of her mistakes in painstaking detail. It would be enough to drive anyone to despair. So, let's talk about what probably everyone has been waiting for. Aqua's journey through the realm of darkness.
When I was in the darkness, I'd think back to those peaceful days of training, when we were protected by our master. I was calm and content during the time spent training alone with Terra, but I feel Ven's arrival added a different kind of warmth. I wonder, can we ever return to those peaceful days? Yes, I'm sure we can, if we create them.
As Aqua traverses throughout the realm of darkness, we get a very somber side of her. Most of the emotion is gone from her voice as she makes her way through the fragmentary passages of worlds that she had seen in the realm of light, now fall into darkness. I remember hearing people comment about how dead Aqua sounds in 0.2, but I honestly think it was a directive choice. One of the first insights we get into Aqua's thoughts is how she took everything for granted. She has grown from the pain and lost a bit of naivety through this trek in the darkness. This statement of taking things for granted shows how preoccupied she's been with how she acted during her journey of Birth by Sleep, and how she wishes things could have been different if she had handled things with more care. Of course, this focus on the past and what could have been is something that breeds despair, which bleeds into her thoughts as she looks at the world of the Castle of Dreams. I mean, listen to these lines.
Here, too, everyone in this world thought that they were safe. Not just the people, but the dog waiting for his owner. The cat curled up in her nook. So much life. Trees and flowers. There's no deeper sadness than discovering all that you knew is gone. The grief in this place is too much to fathom. That's enough. I can't keep on wishing for the past.
It's overwhelming for her. The grief threatens to drag her downwards, but she stops herself. She keeps focused on a goal and tries to stop herself from wishing for the past. The puzzle involved in traversing further through the Castle of Dreams is thematic of Aqua's wish to turn back time. It's gonna feel like beating a dead horse, but Aqua is so focused on her past mistakes and wishing she could have done something differently, and this is what she fixated on for 10 years. Having such a strict upbringing with such a focus on morals and good and bad usually doesn't have a great outcome for people. They usually agonize over their mistakes and strive for perfection. These phantoms that appear don't help much as they cause confusion in her and further her pain. She tries to take what little solace she can in the fact that these phantoms aren't real, and her two best friends haven't fallen into the realm of darkness. The way she responds to seeing the phantom of Ven is pure agony. It's painful because she knows she can't help Ven at all until she can make it home. She apologizes for that despite it not even being her fault. She internalizes that guilt and holds on to it. Internalizing guilt like that is like holding onto a knife. The more tightly you squeeze onto it, the deeper it cuts. As Aqua traverses the realm of mirrors, her darkest thoughts turn against her, literally becoming a phantom she has to fight back against. I touched on it briefly in my Psychology of Riku video, but negative thoughts and beliefs are so detrimental. They can erode our sense of self, and it's readily apparent with Aqua and her phantom. Those negative thoughts can drag us to such a dark, despairing place, and it takes so much effort and energy to fight back against them. The difference between Riku and Aqua is that Riku had Mickey right there beside him, while Aqua had to go through it mostly on her own. It really shows how important strong supports are around you during the tougher times. Aqua starts to shift in her thinking as she traveled through the dark world, believing that darkness has gotten to her, found the cracks in her heart. She is so desperate to see her friends again that she begins chasing after the phantoms she sees. It doesn't even matter if they are real or not at this point. She's so isolated, so alone, so deep in her despair that she is looking for any comfort or relief that she can find. Even when she somehow connects to the hearts of Terra and Ven, she isn't even able to be fully sure if she can believe what she is seeing or not. She's so wary of the darkness seeping in that she can't be confident in what she sees around her anymore. As she is pulled into the darkness, we see that she really is on the cusp of despair. Even after reconnecting with the hearts of her friends, she almost falls to darkness, and it's only because Mickey finds her that she is able to stave it off for now. She snaps out of it and is able to stabilize once more, but she is inching closer and closer to that despair. Mickey tries to encourage her, but it really doesn't have the impact he is hoping for. You can hear it in her voice that she really doesn't think she'll be okay.
But you'll be okay.
Right.
Aqua is cheered up a bit by Mickey, and her mood does seem to improve now that she has gotten some hope back though. She has a chance to return to the realm of light and get back to Ven. You can see her face lighten a bit as she works with Mickey to find the Keyblade of Darkness. She soon learns of what's been happening and what's at stake, choosing to stay back to protect Mickey and Riku and ensure that they can close the door to Kingdom Hearts. She steels her resolve to see Terra and Ven again, her vigor renewed. She finds herself alone again, though she holds out hope that she will be found. This hope keeps her going until she finds Ansem the Wise. Her promise to her friends has kept her strong, able to fight back against the encroaching darkness. She even gets excited hearing about a boy who has been saving the realm of light, thinking maybe it was Ven or Terra. After the initial disappointment washes through her, discovering that it is indeed not Ven or Terra, she hears the name of the boy and it brings tears to her eyes. Sora. Her hope again is restored. She's been fighting for so long and she can feel that her long journey is near an end. The burden of staying strong in the darkness hasn't been for nothing. This roller coaster of gaining hope and losing it must be so exhausting for Aqua. Aqua decides to stay here with Ansem the Wise, knowing someone will come for her. It's a pretty significant change that we see come over Aqua. Her weariness seems gone and her smile has come back. Though it all changes when Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, appears. She readies herself to fight, once again shifting into that protector role. She protects Ansem even though she's literally lost her Keyblade. As she fights back, she is sent careening into the waves, plunging further into the darkness. We've seen before that Ansem has the power to temper the darkness in people's hearts, but it's not clear exactly what causes this change. It may have been her finally unable to keep the darkness at bay, or Ansem's influence. Regardless, she is finally taken over by the darkness. Aqua's bitterness and despair overcome her. I just want to play this whole scene here because, given everything we know about Aqua's psychology, it's really powerful.
This Keyblade.
Is it her?
Mickey. You're too late.
Aqua?
What happened?
You abandoned me, that's what. Left me in this shadow prison for more than a decade, knowing what it would do to me.
I'm sorry. It's all my fault.
I reached this shore after endless wandering. Waited forever for help to arrive. but no one ever came. I lost my Keyblade, had no means of fighting my way back through the Heartless. You should have known I was stranded. Do you have any idea how lonely it is here? How frightening it is to have no one? All that's left in my heart is misery and despair. And now, you can share it.
While this is Aqua taken over by darkness, these thoughts and feelings are unmistakably hers. She held on to hope, believed someone would come to save her, but no one ever came. The bitterness that sat in her heart and festered, growing deeper and deeper. She was lonely and frightened, and when they finally showed up to save her, she was ready to hurt them as much as she had been hurt. While not necessarily part of Aqua Psychology, I did want to note that Aqua's appearance here is strikingly similar to that of a Darkling from the Union Cross series. Darklings are born from Keyblade wielders who succumb to darkness. Aqua's tattered clothes, yellow eyes, and red fingers bear a resemblance to it. Riku's dark form is also similar as well. After fighting Sora, the darkness loses its grasp, and she once more sinks down into the depths, believing this is her end. Sora dives down after her though. The one she believed would save her finally came. And again, showing that parallel to Sora and Aqua, Sora dove down into the depths of darkness to save Aqua. There was no second thought to if this was dangerous or not for him. When she awakens on the beach, we get this callback to Birth by Sleep, where she finds Sora and Riku look like the spitting image of Terra and Ven. The relief that Aqua feels here must be unbelievable. She can't even believe that she has returned to the realm of light, but when the realization hits her, she is overcome with emotion. The trauma she experienced doesn't magically just disappear, especially given the fact that she doesn't even try to process it. She immediately makes her way to Castle Oblivion to wake Ven up. When she arrives, she needs a moment though to calm herself as she prepares to change Castle Oblivion back to its original form. We see these small little pieces that indicate that she is not okay. She still has the same tendency she always had though, throwing herself in harm's way to help her friends and to protect everyone. Her face-off with Vanitas shows that, where she takes him on alone before throwing herself in front of Ven to save him. She finds some calmness here in this moment though, when Ven wakes up. A soft smile appears that we haven't seen in a while. There's also some healing that happens during this respite, where Aqua is able to see that the 3 children she met in her journeys are all safe. Though I would have loved to get some thoughts from Aqua about how she felt with all 3 of them being Keyblade wielders now. It was something she thought of back in Birth by Sleep, how 1 Keyblade was enough for any group. There's definitely some relief and positive emotions she feels here though, as the Guardians make ready for the Keyblade graveyard. Seeing her reconnect with Ventus here is such a great scene, and we see that even now she holds on to that dream that they'll all 3 still be together, that things will return to normal. Of course, we know that the events in the Keyblade graveyard don't exactly go according to plan. One of the most discussed topics surrounding Aqua is her reaction to the darkness overwhelming the Guardians of Light. It happens when Ven is attacked by Terra. Her mistakes, her duty to protect Terra and Ven, it all comes back to her in this moment and she's frozen. Trauma is something that doesn't just impact someone mentally, but physically as well. It impacts what's known as your limbic system. People don't get to choose when their trauma is triggered. That's why it's so important to work on that trauma and gain insight and healing with it, to learn our limits and how to stay safe. In this moment, there are so many memories being triggered for Aqua. There's the rejoining of her and her 2 friends, in the Keyblade graveyard no less, the place where she literally lost everything. You can imagine that this is not the safest place for her. In the Remind DLC of Kingdom Hearts 3, we actually get to see what Aqua sees during this moment. Sora sees that her heart is full of fear, darkness swirling around her heart. She sees phantoms of herself all swirling around. The fear and despair she felt for those 10 years is so overwhelming it literally brings Sora to his knees. Sora helps to fight back the darkness within her heart though, the thoughts and feelings that are paralyzing her. Now, I don't think this magically heals her, of course. Aqua desperately needs to process a lot of what has happened to her. This was just one time where she was unable to push her own thoughts and feelings aside to help her friends. She regains her composure after this and is able to fight, but the second Terra is freed, we see her emotions spill over again.
Terra? Is it you?
Yeah. You never stop lighting my way back.
You're here.
I heard you too, Ven. You found me, just like you promised. Thank you.
Finally, after so long, they've returned together again. Like I said before, she still has a lot of work to do on herself. We see, even with the Limit Cut DLC, that Riku questions if she's okay to go back into the Realm of Darkness. She's not alone this time, though. There's a confidence there that wasn't there before. And while this is where Aqua's story ends, I can't wait to see how they will handle her character in future games.
Terra, Ben, let's have some tea. I call out. Just like me, they've completed long journeys. We've come home together. We've lost our master, but we aren't alone. The three of us will go stargazing again. We'll look for shooting stars. We'll never be apart again.
And that is the psychology of Aqua. I hope this helped to give you a deeper appreciation of this character and everything she means. Of course, I may be reading things wrong or followed a line of logic that maybe you disagreed with. I'd love to hear your thoughts and interpretations down in the comments below. I've loved doing this deep dive into Aqua Psychology. As I was nearing the end of this script, I just had such a deep appreciation for this character. Watching the later cutscenes from 0.2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 really made it hit so much harder knowing a little bit more about Aqua. It's not like I didn't like Aqua as a character before, it was just someone I never really paid much mind to. So I really enjoyed learning more about her through this video. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. If you did, sharing it around really helps me out so much. If you want to support me and my channel, consider subscribing or becoming a channel member. You can subscribe or join through the links below. My patrons and channel members will be on screen right now. Thank you guys so much for the support. Having a stream of income that's not relying on YouTube ads is such a relief, honestly. So thank you so much if you do decide to support me. Let me know what characters you would like to see next, and I'll see you in the next video.